You know, we've talked about Adu Thero before, talked about some film and his overall game and expectations for next season, but we haven't talked much about Chris Mannon. And if you have no idea who I'm talking about, he is a current two-way contract for the Lakers, one of their two current two-way contract players, the other one being Christian Koloko. Mannon, being a rookie, played Summer League with the Golden State Warriors. The Lakers actually played against him, and he was a defensive menace out there on the court, bothering Dalton Connect, getting steals, blocks, all around bothering them and being a menace on defense again. So I think this gives us a good opportunity to talk about him, go through a little bit of his college film, as I'm not sure a lot of you are familiar with him, and talk about what he might be able to become for their team. You know, I'm not sure many realize how good he is on defense and how much upside he has too. Much like Adu Thero is a defensive-minded player, you know, isn't as big as Adu Thero, more of a smaller wing compared to a big wing like Thero, but a guy that has equally if not even better upside on defense too. I mean, he kind of reminds me even a little bit of a Tony Allen, simply from how unscreenable and impossible to take him out plays on defense he is. I mean, for example, look at this play back during his final year at Vanderbilt. I think the guy literally ran around 5 or 6 screens here in one play. Here we have them matching up with Kentucky. I count him running around one screen, dodging it, then another one that's even kind of a moving screen on the wing, him still staying with this matchup, getting back to it along the baseline, once again running around a pin down screen from the corner, running around a double screen on the wing, and then running around a DHO set by the big, still keeping up with his own player and not switching off of him, even contesting it for a pretty good shot that unfortunately did go in. But regardless, it's a great example of how unscreenable the guy is on defense. You know, I don't know the exact science behind it, but watching him out there and navigating screens on defense, he simply bounces off of them and somehow finds a way to navigate them perfectly, staying with his matchup and very rarely ever switching on defense, and even if he does, he somehow finds a way to get back in the play like 99% of the time. I mean, for example, when he was matching up with the Lakers throughout Summer League, here he is defending Dalton Connect on the perimeter, Connect running a high pick and roll here with Julian Reese setting a moving screen that kind of temporarily takes Chris Mannon out of the play, but if you know him, he's never going to give up on a play, getting back in it, and as Connect tries to kind of absorb contact and pump fake out the rim, Mannon comes from behind him and absolutely blocks his shot away. Once again, showing his effort on defense, ability to get back on defense and never give up on a play. This is what you're going to get from Chris Mannon out there on the court. And not only that, but the guy's a certified defensive playmaker out there on the court too, meaning he gets a ton of steals and deflections on defense. I mean, throughout his 4-year college career, the guy averaged 2 steals per game in under 20 minutes per game, averaging 4 of them exactly per 40 minutes. Not only that, but averaging over 1 block per 40 minutes, and having an absolutely ridiculous steal rate of 5.6%. That's absolutely insane. And not to mention the fact that he had a 3.7% block rate, higher than current guys drafted in this year's draft class like Maxime Reynaud, even comparable to a Ryan Kalkbrenner, one of the best shot blockers at the D1 level this season. Absolutely insane for a player of his height and literally for a smaller wing. If you're talking about defense and versatility on defense, then you are not going to look much further than Chris Mannon for a guy that's a tremendous example of it. Whether you're talking about on-ball, one-on-one defense, screen navigation, defensive playmaking, even getting help side blocks at the rim, Chris Mannon's a very good and quality defender coming out of college. So if you're wondering why they gave him a two-way contract despite not playing with their Summer League team, giving him the two-way contract over guys like Eric Dixon, Arthur Kluma, so on and so forth, that would definitely be why here. He's simply elite on defense and probably has one of, if not the highest upside on defense of any player in this year's NBA draft that didn't get drafted. However, much like Adu Thero, he does have some major work to do on offense, and especially in regard to three-point shooting. Now, he was a little bit better of a three-point shooter than Adu Thero was, for example, being a 30.4% career three-point shooter in college, compared to Thero being a 28.4%, but much like Thero did not attempt many per game, only attempting 1.6 per game in 19.6 minutes per game, even per 40 minutes, taking only 3.2 of them per game, making a grand total of 56 in his 4-year college career, attempting only 184 of them, so definitely is not very accustomed and very comfortable with three-point shooting, is a little bit better from the corner, isn't much of an on-ball three-point shooting threat or much of an on-ball player in general offensively. You know, he can drive to the rim and finish above the rim, is a very good athlete, even somewhat comparable to Adu Thero, but he does have to work on that three-point shooting. You know, even worse than Adu Thero, who can kind of play at power forward and can kind of be hidden in the dunker spot, Chris Mannon will be on the perimeter offensively, so he does have to have a somewhat reliable 3-point shot, even somewhat kind of like a TJ McConnell, to where if the defense absolutely dares him to shoot, he can at least knock down the occasional shot. So I hate to sound like a broken record here for both Chris Mannon and Adou Thiero, but that's the number one thing that they do have to work on, especially for Chris Mannon again. That being 3-point shooting, simply finding some semblance of a reliable shot, and I would say that Chris Mannon probably has more work to do, maybe even a slight tweak to his shooting motion. Isn't a terrible motion and isn't a terrible form in general, but I think he probably has to get more comfortable with it. The speed of it's not that quick, the fact that he doesn't really take that many per game, and as a shooting guard kind of point guard combo, that definitely is something he has to work on here. Overall though, I do love the addition of Chris Mannon. If you watch him throughout Summer League, if you go back and watch his defensive film throughout college, there's absolutely no reason to believe that he can't be an NBA player in some form or fashion. Whether that's a defensive specialist that hopefully can develop into a 3-and-D-ish kind of guard, again with the 3-point shot needing some work, but down the line here he could be a good outlook and possible rotation player for them. I like it, and if he can become even somewhat like a Tony Allen like I mentioned before, that would be a big time addition to their team and a really good potential add for their team via 2-way contract. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night. And if you watch until the very end of this video, be sure to leave a comment saying, "Happy birthday, Kobe. We miss you."